November 20th, 2019. BBC News. Israel carries out wide-scale strikes on Iranian forces in Syria. Israel says it has hit dozens of targets in Syria belonging to the government and allied Iranian forces. The Israel military says the wide-scale strikes responded to rockets fired by an Iranian unit into Israel. Syria says 2 civilians died, and that Syrian air defenses shut down most of the missiles over Damascus. Other reports say the death toll was higher. Local reports said loud explosions were heard in the capital. Pictures on social media showed a number of fires. On Tuesday morning, the Israeli military said it had intercepted 4 rockets fired from Syria towards northern Israel. It said the rockets did not hit the ground. Israel has carried out hundreds of strikes in Syria since the civil war broke out in 2011. It has been trying to thwart what it calls Iran's military entrenchment there and block shipments of Iranian weapons to Lebanon's Hezbollah movement, but the latest operation was one of the broadest attacks to date, says the BBC's Barbara Platt-Usher in Jerusalem. A senior Israeli security official said the Israelis had decided on a powerful retaliatory strike to signal they were changing the rules, that even a small attack from Syria would trigger an extensive response, our correspondent reports. What did Israel say? Early on Wednesday, the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, tweeted that the strikes targeted positions of Iran's Quds Force and Syria's armed forces. During our strike of Iranian and Syrian terror targets, a Syrian air defense missile was fired despite clear warnings to refrain from such fire. As a result, a number of Syrian aerial defense batteries were destroyed, the IDF said. The IDF also said it held the Syrian regime responsible for the action that take place in Syrian territory and warned them against allowing further attacks against Israel. Iran's Quds Force is the external operations wing of the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps, IRGC. Israel did not target the Russian-made advanced S-300 surface-to-air missile system deployed near the position of Russian troops, Israel media reports. Russia, whose forces have been helped turn the tide of Syria's civil war in favor of President Bashar al-Assad, condemned the Israeli strikes. What did Syria say? Syria's state news agency SANA said that the country's air defense confronted the heavy attack and intercepted the hostile missiles. It said that Syria destroyed most of the Israeli missiles. The news agency added that the strikes on Syrian territory were carried out from Lebanese and Palestinian territories. Israel has a number of times hit targets inside Syria from warplanes in Lebanese airspace. Danny Maki, a British-Syrian journalist based in Damascus, posted footage of what he said he believed were Israeli missiles hitting targets south of Damascus. Syria said 2 civilians were killed in the Israeli strikes. Meanwhile, a UK-based monitoring group, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, said that 11 fighters, including 7 foreigners, died. The SOHR said that the Israeli missiles hit sites in and around Damascus in Kiswa, Sasa, Metza military airport, Judaidat, Artus, Qudsaya, and Sahanaya. And what about Iran? The Iranian authorities have so far made no public comments. What is the Quds Force? The Quds Jerusalem Force answered directly to Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. It is led by Qasem Soleimani, who is believed to be more than a mere military commander. Since the U.S.-led overthrow of Saddam Hussein's regime in Iraq in 2003, the Quds Force has intensified its operations across the Middle East, providing training, funding, and weapons to non-state groups allied to Tehran. It has also developed forms of asymmetric warfare, such as swarm tactics, drone, and cyber attacks, that have allowed Iran to undermine its enemy's superiority in conventional weapons. In April, U.S. President Donald Trump designated the IRGC, including the Quds Force, a foreign terrorist organization, FTO. It was the first time the U.S. had named a part of another government as an FTO. The Quds Forces has about 5,000 personnel, recently published reports by the U.S. military says.